Hello, Java community. Uh, I'm so happy to be here with my friend Jonathan Villa. So, Jonathan going to talk about common people that you need to avoid as a Java developer while using AI tools. Or Jonathan, introduce yourself and the stage is yours.
Muchas gracias, Eudris. Buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches, good morning, good afternoon, good night. I don't know where you are. But in any case, welcome to the presentation about the 7 habits of highly effective AI Java developer. I'm not going to present here, I don't know, rocket science or amazing tricks. I think that at the end of the presentation, you will agree with me that this is common sense and it should be more common than it is. So I will just simply share good ideas, best practices in order to consider AI into your software development life cycle. This is me. I'm Jonathan. I'm Java champion since 2020 and also Oracle Ace this 2025, IBM contributor from the IBM Champions program. And also I've been also one of the leaders of the Barcelona Java community. Now, because of my work, I cannot help that much. But I'm also a co-founder of JVCN Conf. It's a conference that we started at 2015 here in Barcelona. Also, DevBCN is the rebranded idea of the conference. By the way, we are open. So, I mean, you can send your papers, your ideas for this 2026 edition that will happen mid-June. Also, I'm also co-founder of AI for Devs. It's a series of conferences, small conferences about AI and developers that we did our first edition in Amsterdam last September. I've been developer for more than 35 years, so you can imagine my age. TikTok is new for me, so that's one point. I've used several languages, and well, apart from Java, the other one that I love the most is Delphi. If you have used Delphi before, put it in your comments. I would love to find language colleagues. I'm also a content creator, so you can find articles by me in dev.to, but Medium, Java Pro. But I would say that mainly in Fujay.io. It's an amazing platform related to Java. So you will find articles, agenda, meetups. You will find a lot of things there. So I totally recommend you to follow Fujay and join the blog. But as my professional work, so let's say the one that pays my bills, I work as a senior staff developer advocate for Sonar, especially advocating for code quality, AI, and security and linters. So it's a lovely job. It was my passion for a lot of time, and now since 3 years ago, I've been paid for doing that. So it's amazing. Okay, so now, okay, should work. Okay, so for those of you that do not know who is Sonar, apart from the one that it is paying my mortgage, Sonar is the company that it is behind SonarQube. It's a very famous tool that analyzes code, not only Java, so we cover more than 35 languages. And we integrate with several platforms. Now, also Sonar, apart from checking bugs, code smells, security vulnerabilities, is also involving several AI capabilities, AI code fixes. So it will give you the fix for some of your issues. Also, we are working on the remediation agent. connected to your PRs and will suggest the changes and the modifications to fix the issues, and our MCP server that you can find in most of the MCP marketplaces. I also wrote an article about series of articles about the MCP, so you can check that. But we also do SCA, that means software composition analysis, so doing dependency check, SBOM generations, and license check. But enough of this product pitch. If you want to know more, just ping me or definitely go to sonarsource.com. So let's talk about the agenda for today. So I will start with kind of giving a brief overview of what AI code generation is, at least from my point of view. Then I will share which are the 7 habits, let's say, to be a very efficient and effective Java AI coder developer. So I will start with pride. Yes. Pay attention that I'm not saying just only ownership. I want to put pride, and I will explain why later. Then also documentation is one of the best habits nowadays with AI, and I will also explain why documentation and giving information to your agents is definitely a good starting point. Simplicity, and nowadays connected to LLMs, the trend is that the LLMs are going better and better, but they are also producing more and more and more code. And we will see which is the order of magnitude of this number of lines of code. No straight code, meaning we are not going to allow those dead variables, dead methods, or even dead dependencies, apparently dead dependencies in our code. Then definitely we are going to have to verify our AI infrastructure or our AI system, test our code. And definitely this is important, but not today. It's been important always. And we will see how AI impacts in the testing phase. And review, and review. I could make this, the last habit, 3 different habits: review, and also review. But we will see that in a minute. So let's talk about AI code generation. Apparently, we are going up and up and up on the generation code adoption. So now we are around 41% in 2025, depending on the reports. I will share the QR code for the slides and also for the feedback. And you will have the links to the report that support all of these claims. So it's not that one CEO is saying this is we are at the 70%. These are reports on really interviews, surveys, and checking APIs, not just simply a CEO saying something and selling smoke. But also we see that it is 41%. Okay, that's a lot. But the important point here is, even considering the different reports from each of these brands, in 2025, we were at most at the 40% rate of acceptance. That means that for every suggestion that you, or every question that you ask to the AI, the 60% of the time, we reject or discard the result. So we are not happy with the results from AI. So that's important, and we will see also how this impacts in our development. And also another important part is that juniors are using 20% more AI compared to seniors. So this can also introduce a point of uncertainty on those that do not have the expertise level in order to know when to discard the answer from AI and when to ask more accuracy on the response. So this is kind of an overview of how the AI generation code is out there. Sonar has the LLM leaderboard that you can check. It's public, so you will have the link at the end, and you can check, well, the results of, as it is today, we have 16 models. So what Sonar has done is to have 4,400 Java tests, and it uses each of these models and execute all of these challenges, let's say, and see which is the answer from each of those models. After that, use a SonarQube in order to check the response. So we see that Opus 4.5, the thinking model, has a pass rate of 83%. So it means that that from all the tests is getting very high accuracy on the response. But you can see that it has also a lot of lines of code. If you compare it with Gemini, it has 3 times the number of lines of code. This means a lot of complexity and a lot of work in order to review. Because I assume every one of you reviews entirely the code generated by AI. Yeah, I know you have a friend that he or she doesn't do that, but you are reviewing it for sure. So it's important to see that these models, one, are not perfect, and second, are introducing a lot of complexity. So in some cases, we can see, if we go to the Gemini 3, we have kind of similar accuracy, but 3 times less lines of code. Definitely way less job to let us lot less work to do. So definitely this is also an important point in order to consider which model are you using for which task. I've seen in several companies that they use several models and choosing each model for a specific task. Well, so you see here, which is the accuracy. We don't have any 100%. And well, if we go to GPT 5.2, we see that, well, it's producing almost 1 million lines of code for those tests, compared to Sonnet 4.5 that is producing less than half of it, or Gemini 3 Pro that is producing 3 times those number of lines of code. So definitely consider this leaderboard in order to choose which model. Well, if we go to DeepSeek 3.1, well, we see that accuracy is not that high, but the important part here is it is producing way less number of lines of code, and the complexity is the lower. So, well, for some cases, maybe you can choose DeepSeek because it's gonna be easier to review in terms of number of lines of code and also the complexity. So now we have accuracy and complexity. In this case, I would suggest, okay, consider all the models, but apparently Gemini 3 Pro and DeepSeek B 3.1 apparently are the ones to try the first. Definitely, you can go to the other ones too. Let's see, what about bugs? Well, we see that GPT 5.1 is producing 600 issues per every million of lines of code. Definitely, that's a lot. And 17 of them are blockers. So this is a model that it is producing the less issues and the less critical issues, considering the other models. In this case, Opus 4.5 is producing more or less the same number of issues per million of lines of code, but then definitely way more blockers. Regarding security, well, they are introducing also a lot of vulnerabilities. GPT 5.2, 60 vulnerabilities introduced every 1 million lines of code. And from those 60, 17 are blockers. But you see that the other models are also producing a lot of vulnerabilities, and which of them are blockers are a lot. So we go DeepSeek R1, it's more than 300 vulnerabilities, and of them 181 are blockers. So definitely it's an important part, also considering the security of the code that they are producing. An important point here with all of this is, if you know the code that the AI is generating, then you know how to fix it. You know which is the problem they are introducing. But if your level of expertise is lower than the response from the AI, you are sold. So in this case, always AI can help us to be faster, not to replace us to be smarter. This is not going to work. Again, you need to know more than AI always. So considering all of these numbers, definitely you need to choose which model you are going to use depending on the task. So one thing is asking for a small method or asking for a very easy problem. Another one is to ask for a complete application using trendy technologies that were released, 2 months ago. So definitely these are the different tasks. And depending on that, you need to choose if you want to have more correctness, but also more lines of code, compared to having less correctness and less number of lines of code, and also less number of issues. Here I put kind of a scale. So going to Gemini 3 in one edge and Llama 3.2 and OpenCoder on the other edge. But you need to choose. Definitely OpenCoder is also one thing that you can run locally. Gemini 3 Pro, maybe not. So it's also important to consider this if you want to also be isolated from the outside. So most common pitfalls of code generation, well, in terms of vulnerabilities, they are also introducing SQL injections. Path traversal injection, come on, it shouldn't happen. But yes, it happens. Even remote execution using old versions of, Log4j, for instance. Hard-coded credentials. So why not? It's what can go wrong if you hard-code credentials in your code? So they are introducing a lot of vulnerabilities, bugs, exception handling, or control flow mistake, even null pointer exception, index when you are checking an array, for instance. So they are going to introduce those issues. And obviously, code smells, with having dead code and use methods, variables, even classes that are not used. Sometimes they don't follow best practices unless you tell them to do it. And they can increase a lot the cognitive and computation complexity of your code. So the thing that you have today, it's going to be very, very, very hard to maintain in 1 month if you continue using AI that it is clearly above your expertise skills. But there is also another thing that can impact your development lifecycle when using AI. So in this case, these people from the Meta report, they did an experiment and they had 2 groups. One of them was allowed to use AI and the other one was disallowed to use AI. We can see that the purple one is investing more time actively, so doing active coding. Also, they are investing more time in reading and searching and testing, and even using the Git tools and environment and so on. But the thing is that the group that were using AI, it's not that they only had these tasks, and clearly they were going faster than the other group. Is that they had other tasks that the purple group was not having, that those tasks were impacting the speed of development for that group. And it's reviewing the output of the AI, trying to understand, trying to fix, trying to prompt AI in the right way to get the right answer. Is not easy sometimes, so you need to put a lot of description information that sometimes I think myself, I think I would go faster if I directly code that. And also waiting on AI. So depending on what you're using, even for the most silly request, you need to wait some time. So the problem is that teams can code or type characters faster, but then they are going to go way slower in order to review all those characters, and they are going to invest way more time reviewing that code, and they cannot cope with the speed of AI. And also considering that nowadays, every new version for each model is producing way more code. Definitely, we are increasing the size of pull requests and the time that we need to invest on reviewing all that code. But some of you would say, hey, but we have something called vibe coding. Yeah, let's go for vibe coding, man. Yes, vibe coding. Your team is like these guys. So you are all happy, typing, coding, amazing. I wasn't that happy. But maybe some of you are this happy. Plus some magic. And you say, create me this amazing application that does this and that with the new and super trendy technologies. Yeah. And then we have something that works. Does it? So Andre coined this term, vibe coding, saying here, this is the important part. Vibe coding is not just simply using AI to produce code. It's to not even think and forget that the code even exists. So apparently, it would mean that you are not even allowed to touch the code. So you always have to interact with your AI assistant in order to change, fix, or evolve your code. What can go wrong if you do that? Well, I have this story. This is my friend driving without seatbelt. Okay. Without sitting. But this is the vibe coding mode, So you are getting, I don't know, more, happier using vibe coding. Then you even drive without hands, making selfies of you and your team. And what happens? Then you end up in a super big crash when you try to put that into production and you didn't pay attention to a lot of things that you should have done it. Just because I created a prompt, it created an application that I don't understand at all. But I do run, it runs, it looks like it works, but that's the problem. That's the problem. And I assume that a lot of projects in some time will suffer from all of this just because they started as a POC. Your product owner said, no. This will never go to production. This is only a POC that we will destroy. We will bury under the I don't know, in the field. We will remove it completely. But sometimes this doesn't happen. And they see that the POC has a lot of potential and why not? Let's move it to production and perfect. And then problems start to happen. So definitely vibe coding is something that you need to consider as a help, but not as a means to do something. So I totally recommend that you to deal with generative AI as if you are using a beginner, someone that can help you in going faster, but that you need to explain a lot of details, a lot of information in order to do a proper job. Also, you can use it as a starting point. So the blank page syndrome, it's nice even to create, I don't know, articles, content, or whatever. It's nice to have something that can just put you in the mood of moving forward, but always helping the AI. So AI also needs to be helped with high quality code. If your code base is in high quality code, then when the AI considers your code base in order to produce answers, it will give you potentially, it will give you a better response compared to having very bad code as a code base. And also giving always detailed instructions. We will see in a minute. But it's important. Sometimes we have, as humans, we have a lot of information in context that we don't make it explicit. But for AI, we need to make it. Remember that every time that you start a new context, unless you use special tricks, they start from scratch. So you need to put all the information, all the context. It's like putting your, I don't know, 30 years of developing experience in the window context in order to help AI to produce the response. That's definitely what it should be done. But constantly reviewing the output. As we saw in the previous slides, there's a lot to review. Don't just simply trust, because we call it artificial intelligence. So now we have a context of what AI impacts our development lifecycle. So let's talk about the habits that I suggest you to use in order to use AI in a more productive way. So first, we will start with accountability. Now, let's talk about pride and ownership. I prefer to talk about pride because we are developers. We create solutions through code. We don't just simply type code. That's the important part. That's where those companies that think that they can replace the developers are going to crash dramatically. And we will see. In some time, maybe we will repeat again the offshoring syndrome. So you remember, it's a good idea to send requirements to, I don't know, offshoring companies to produce our code. And then after that, a lot of consultancy companies have earned a lot of money just fixing that code that was created with poor definition, poor requirements offshore. Maybe we will repeat the same problem with companies solving AI-generated problems. So when you do git commit, git blame with your code, okay, so there are two options. Either it's an AI that does the git commit, or it's a developer. Usually, it's a developer using the assistant and the agents, but the final commit is on the developer's hands. But there are other options. In these agentic chains, you can have agents taking requirements and creating the code and committing the code. So they can use a bot, they can use user impersonation, so they can use your account and commit on your behalf, or maybe they have a dedicated account. This is one option. The other option, I think, is the most used today, but I assume that we are moving towards the first option, is that the developer asks the AI. Hopefully, the developer reviews the code and tweaks it, modifies it, and whatever, and then the developer commits the code. So with the first option, meaning is the AI who commits the code, this lacks human accountability. So if something goes wrong, who did it? The agent. Okay. At the moment, at least in Europe, we cannot fire agents. And if we fire them, we need to pay them a lot. But I'm not sure we are going to be in this position. Again, it's the same. It's okay, the bot did it. So it's not kind of anybody's fault. It's the bot. So how can you prove it? How can you kind of avoid that this will happen again? If you are using user impersonation, then who I have to blame, you or your other you that was the bot? So it's hard to see who did it. The other thing is that if you're using user impersonation, you will get to the point of, did I really write this? Because I don't remember. I have to say that this doesn't convince me a lot because I've been there in the past without agents. So I was thinking, wow, this is a very crappy code. The person that did it should burn in hell, and come on. And then I did git blame and it was me. It happened to me. So I assume that with agents, we are not going to solve this. But it's going to make even more harder the audit and compliance processes in order to avoid risks. Or, okay, if someone needs to audit, if you don't have deterministic approach, or you don't have someone kind of to blame, what is going to happen? And in the end, if we have a dedicated account, we can say always it was AI's fault. So we can, because we cannot be deterministic with this approach. If the requirements were not very well specified, we can say it's AI's fault, when in this case it was our fault for not giving enough information. With the developer making the commit, we have clear accountability. So it's that person. Natural workflow. So it's kind of what we are used to. And when the developer is the one that does the commit, we expect that someone alive has reviewed it and has introduced their expertise on that. Then we can have a code quality gate, because we have this natural process of someone doing changes, committing, and then we have something that is going to accept or avoid these changes, and then the human can review them again and fix them. It can be auditable. I mean, as always, this doesn't change. So in this case, in this option, asking AI, Stack Overflow, I don't know, your sister or your neighbor doesn't change. So this is the natural flow that we've been using for a long time. And apparently it works in most of the cases. And we are going to have fewer commits. With AI, you can have a lot of commits. You not basically control it. And the size of those commits, it's variable. So it's gonna be harder. But with this approach, it's hard to see how much code came from AI, if it's important to know or not, but it's way harder to know that. So why I say pride? Just because pull requests should include, well, high quality code. We all agree on this. Clear logic, robust implementation, and that you understand the code. Nothing to discuss here. I mean, we all agree on this. But the PRs should not involve nitpicking syntax, basic and simple issues, This variable is not long enough. This method has more than X lines. It's super hard to understand. You should not use for loops in this case. You should use streams. These basic issues could be solved. So PRs are not for this. We will see how we can solve this. It's more architectural choices. No, architectural choices. So design, business, I think it's super important. Business logic and potential enhancements. Enhancements. I have a bit of dyslexia, I think. Okay, so it's important to talk about in the PRs about the business and the value behind that code, not nitpicking. So PRs should be more about pride. So when the developer commits code, that person is proud about what they are committing, and because they are not going to suffer from eternal discussions and hard friction on those PRs. And it's important here. You own the solution, so it's you. If we do Git blame, it's you. So, for instance, this code is generated by AI. It is using different completable features. It's doing a completable feature all off, but it doesn't have no timeouts. It doesn't have all or nothing a scenario if you want to have some atomic operations. But this was the response from AI. But if you have enough expertise, domain knowledge, and you've been there for a long time, you know that you need some things. So in this case, you are going to use or timeouts or then the then apply in order to consider all of the functions as an atomic feature. But this is something that you are going to put there unless you ask the AI to do this. But again, it's because you know. Don't expect that the AI knows more than you. Just simply tell the AI what you want, exactly what you want, and then you will be able to review it and fix it. So the code creation ownership. So basically, it's the code generated by AI should be focused more on, not on the core, that the business, because you need to understand, you need to put your domain knowledge that there. More tedious code if you need to, I don't know, boilerplate code to connect to different interfaces or do basic stuff with a lot of things, then it's a clear use case for AI. But always reviewing the code and more importantly, the security. If you don't review security and you introduce 3 vulnerabilities, well, it's not that your code works or doesn't work, it's that you can go and have very serious problems. Because if you do Git blame, usually you will never see Copilot. What you will see is your name. So it's you who has to be proud to commit that code. And if you, the one that needs to understand that code, if someone asks you during the pull request or during the retro, if you say, well, I have a brief idea of what Gemini did, but I'm not sure, that shouldn't be acceptable. So you need to understand and to know exactly what has been done and why. Documentation is super important to document your requests to AI through the prompt with the context and the request. You need to provide guidelines about which technologies the AI should use. I don't know, Quarkus, I don't know, JUnit 5, whatever. All those things that you want to have in your code, you need to put them into the context or create some skills if you are using Claude, whatever. So in any case, is to put a lot of information into the context, definitely. Best practices about what you want. So if you want to use, I don't know, Well, for instance, with secrets. Well, if you are using, I don't know, Vault in order to store your secrets somewhere, or if you are using Kubernetes and you want to, you need to specify CPU memory requests, whatever, best practices to be used in your development lifecycle. The same as if you would be asking the generation of that code to a third party, giving examples of what you want. So if you have some classes in your project that have done exactly or followed exactly what you want, you can give them as examples. Again, previous code, third-party examples, or even previous code as an example. Which libraries and frameworks to use? Again, do not expect that the AI knows exactly what you want. They can't infer, but at the moment they cannot still read minds. So you need to tell them, okay, use this library for React, this library for, I don't know, which version of Quarkus, which version of Postgres, which version of Maven, whatever. All of this you need to specify to the AI to know. And where to put focus also. Sometimes we are asking something, but there are a lot of things connected to that. So we were, we saw in the previous slide how to ask and which using completable future, but we were not putting the focus of the AI into timeouts or something. So where to put focus? Put focus on timeouts and in atomic operations. Now I understand. This is what happens in LLM internally. They have a lot of, now I know. They have a lot of that. So, but we need to put that information in the context. And also what to avoid. Avoid this version, because I know it has some vulnerabilities. Avoid to use, I don't know, JUnit 4, or avoid to use, I don't know, for loops for this, or avoid to use platform threads when you can do virtual threads. Whatever. Again, be explicit to the AI with detailed instructions. Then with this, you will have the best result. Let's see a clear example. This was a prompt, as you can see, very poor prompt. Method, asking for a method with multi-threading, accessing a URL and parsing the response, finding a 200 HTTP code. So the AI produced this code. 3 seconds to check, put in the comments, 3 seconds to check, how can this be improved? 3, 2, 1. Yes, exactly. Virtual threads. But the thing is, I did this some weeks ago. So why the AI in this case was Copilot? Why Copilot was not aware that I wanted that you can use virtual threads when you are doing connections to a URL? Well, it knows, but most of the code in the model is not using virtual threads. So if you say, hey, use the latest features of Java, then it will use virtual threads. So use Copilot instructions in this case. Well, Claude has another file, an MD file, and you can use several. And tell them, use latest Java features, or the Java features at the version 25 or 21, or Quarkus or Micronaut, Spring, whatever. Specify all of the instructions, and the assistant will take all of these instructions and tokens and will put them into the window context. Those LLM providers will be so happy if you have an amazing Copilot instructions file, because you are going to pay for a lot of tokens. But this is the way of having better results. Or as, well, my friend Simon Martinelli is advocating for spec-driven development. I saw his infrastructure using AI Claude in this case, and it's amazing. So definitely check his talks. Are amazing in terms of how to use AI. But with SDD, that in fact, it's what we were using 30 years ago when we were developing software. We had long requirements, documents, descriptions, definitions, everything. Now it seems to be cool. I don't know. I assume that it is the same as with, we call it bell trousers. It was famous in the 60s. Now my daughter is using one because it's cool. So I assume that it's the same. So in this case, we are having documents with the business definition, all the requirements, even entities, constraints, endpoints, Swagger, whatever. So all the documentation for an AI or another person can create. Because again, code is not only, it's not the only source for agents. So that's fine. We have a high quality code base. We have agents. We have different models for different operations. But hey, use docs. Use your GitHub issues, your Jira tickets, your documents, everything. And then AI will create a better response. Definitely, the LLM providers will also be happy. But again, it will provide a better response. Simplicity. I coined this name case, that it is keep AI short and simple. And for that, it's because it's not about showing which is your ninja skills on generating Java code. It's not about reducing the number of lines of code. And I remember experience in the past with Scala, and they were super happy. Hey, what you did in 10 lines, now we do it in 1. Okay. That's not the point. We don't pay for words, right? Unless we send them to the AI. And also, if you make it complex, it will increase the dependency on you. And that's not the point for the company. Maybe it is for you, but not for the company. So keeping AI short and simple will produce maintainable code. It's easier to maintain, less lines of code, easy to read, and with lower cognitive complexity. This means pull requests are going to be faster. So in this case, we can check. I asked to generate a method that iterates a collection, getting the average. So this is the result from AI. And with this plugin that calculates the cognitive complexity, we see a 12%. But the one that I did, for me, it's easier. Come on, we have streams, map to int, average, that's it. That's very simple. A 0% simple. So perfect. But again, if you don't know, you don't know. It's important to know what the AI is going to produce in order to see if that's what you wanted. Again, complexity is important. Also, with guardrails, you can put this into the guidelines. Don't create functions with more than, 20 lines. Don't reduce the cognitive complexity, or reduce the level of duplications, or a lot of things, a lot of guardrails that you can put in order to reduce the complexity of the code. With the stray code, it's, again, dead code, dependencies, zombie code, things that you think they are dead, but they are not. So, well, I don't know if a zombie is alive. I think it's dead. But, well, you understand what I mean. So, in this case, AI can generate a lot of vulnerable dependencies incorporated into your code. And you think you are not using them, so you are free. But what if that dependency is instantiating a bin using dependency injection that you don't know, and this dependency injection is sending information to somewhere else? That could happen. Or even worse. So this is a real incident. Typo squatting. So you ask to do one thing, it creates the Maven dependencies, and you see the artifact ID is scribe Java -core. Perfect. That's what I want. Yeah, but the problem is that the group ID is not the same. And this malicious dependency is doing what the original is doing, plus sending passwords to a third party. But you need to know, you need to check, you need something to check. Again, if you don't know that you don't know. So AI, as I said, is not perfect. Again, see, there is no zero here. These are vulnerabilities per millions of lines of code. There is no zero. If there is no zero, you need to check. Verify. With verify, you need to verify your system. Are you leaking information in your prompts? Are you leaking information with your MCP servers? You are asking something, your local assistant has access to your code base that has, why not, hard-coded passwords, and it is sending some information that you don't control to an MCP server, that it is remote hosted, and it is doing a lot of things. You don't know. So you should check if the MCP is doing what it is intended to do. So check the code of the MCP server. I asked this in a meeting in a meeting. I can't remember what it was. Istanbul, I think. I can't remember. And I asked, who is reviewing the MCP servers that you are using? Nobody. One guy said, yes, we reviewed one. And I said, okay, and how many do you use? Well, several. So it's important to check your infrastructure, because you may be sending information that you don't expect. And again, with the generated code, we talked about it, the accuracy, the quality, the vulnerabilities, and even up-to-date code. As we saw, it is suggesting platform threats when it could use virtual threats. And with the supply chain, if we are connecting our CI/CD pipeline with agents, wow, our dependencies are going to be deployed somewhere. Are those dependencies well maintained? Which is the license, by the way, that the AI, it's putting a library in my code. I run it and it works fine, but which is the license? Is it matching with my application license? Is it, again, incorporating CVEs? The code is signed or not? Is this library very well updated, maintained, or it was the last change was in, I don't know, 3 years? So if something happens, I'm alone. And also types quoting free. So it's important to have all being considered, because it can be very dangerous. And use tools. Again, you can do it manually if you are an amazing person. But if not, if you are a regular person like me, I use tools. There are linters, there are CI/CD gates. Obviously, I would recommend to use Sonar ones, but there are others. The important point here is to use tools. There are open source tools, there are free source that can help you in order to avoid the issues when using something that it is producing a lot of lines of code on your behalf. With linters, you know what they are, but it's important to think about. It's not only about highlighting an issue or saying that's an issue. It's important that you know why that's an issue and which is the potential solution. The learning process with a linter is super important. It's don't treat them as a black box. Learn from them and don't just focus on fixing issues. Learn about why those issues are issues and which are the solutions. With the CI/CD gates, use any tool that prevents or allows bad code or good code to be merged. When after several checks, in our case, we have more than 6,000 checks, and for Java, there are 700. And yeah, we can check also Kubernetes or, I don't know, other infrastructure as code artifacts that you have in your project. But it's important, any tool that checks for security, for bugs, for maintainability, for vulnerabilities that are going to harm you in the future, definitely. So for instance, again, if we check this, okay, this is the same example. this is the example with infrastructure as code. This is for a very small application, Quarkus, with two bots that they are talking to each other that I created. And I asked, okay, let's use GPT-4o in order to generate a YAML file to deploy this application into Kubernetes. It's a very simple file, man. 6 lines. 6 lines. Come on, it's not more than that. Copilot, 6 issues. Because this is checked by Sonar, but doesn't matter. The problem is, in a 6 lines file, there are 6 issues. Because you haven't specified a version tag for the image. This is important when you go to production. This is not my hippie, happy, hoppy hobby application. This is for production. When you go to production, things get serious. So you need to specify a memory request. Because if you don't specify memory request and CPU request when you deploy to Kubernetes, what can happen? 3 seconds. And you put it in the comments. 3, 2, 1. Exactly. You can have your application deployed in any node. And maybe when your application starts, it turns out that it needs, I don't know, 1 GB of memory and it needs 1 CPU. But in that node, there's only available half CPU and 200 megabytes of RAM. So your application will start, will fail, the pod will be deleted, again, will start, will fail, and this for the eternity. Just because you didn't specify which are the requests for your application. 6 issues. With Amazon Q, it was 2 issues, but in any case, it's a simple, very simple file, and they were putting issues. Let's go for testing. Which is the goal for tests? It's not 100% coverage. That's not the point of tests. That's a means if you have enough maturity, but that's a means, not the goal. The goal is to have meaningful tests that represent the business, that represent the feature that has to be implemented. And basically, that it is building confidence in order to deploy this application. And that those tests fail when they have to. So if I'm not fulfilling the requests, the expected result or the outcome, they will have to fail. And in the end, we are testing requirements. So we need to know that for this requirement, my application behaves correctly. But AI can create tons of tests. But AI doesn't know exactly which is the result if you are testing directly to the code, and can green pass the bug. And also can mock everything, and you end up with tests that are not testing anything. But can help you with generating tests, the boilerplate code for those tests. In this example, we have this method that is calculating the tax income that you need to pay. In this country, the country has a deduction. The thing is, the problem is this deduction can be higher than the tax that you needed to pay. But in real life, usually, the country doesn't get back or give back that amount of money to the person. So if you have to pay 500 euros and the deduction is 1,000, okay, maybe you don't pay anything, but you are not going to get 500 euros. But this method is not checking the negative value. So the test created by AI is really testing that if I put a low value, I will get a negative value. So I ask the AI to do this. It works. It goes green. Perfect. I commit, and then I have a bug. So again, it might generate a test that is confirming the bug. Finally, with review, pull requests are for knowledge sharing, to learn. It's not for syntax nitpicking. It's to uncover edge cases, business request fulfillment. It's about the business, the features, the architectural decisions. It's not about ego fights, creating frictions, or commandments from seniors to juniors. So you can use AI for that. You can go to GitHub and you can ask the AI to summarize a PR. This will summarize what it is in the code, not what it is in the intent. Remember always this. Even you can ask Claude, hey, summarize what this branch is doing. Perfect. So it will help you. Even in this case, it's the Sonar agent, remediation agent, that it is suggesting the fix for all the issues that it finds. That's fine. It can help you, but it's not going to replace you. You need to always check, verify, and commit. Finally, always keep the human in the loop. The success is about using AI, multiplying you and the sum of good practices, teamwork, all information on all your sources, and deterministic tooling that it is giving confidence to a thing that it is not deterministic. AI is probabilistic. It's not deterministic. So you need something to use deterministic confidence to a probabilistic world. Conclusions, again, just coding faster is not the whole story. We are not simple coders. We are more than coders. We are problem solvers. It's always put focus on that. And AI can help us, but that's it. Depending on the use cases, you will find the LLM that is perfect for that use case. But again, you need your skills with the AI speed that it is giving it to you, again, with deterministic tools for checking, and that's the success formula. And follow those habits that are the normal habits that we've been using for ages. It's the same. In this presentation, replace AI with your colleague, the company in, I don't know, in the moon, and you will have the same. It's the same. It's simply someone that it is producing a lot of code for any of your requests. That's it. It's been more than an hour. Sorry for that. I get passion when I talk about these things. But here you have the QR for giving me feedback if you liked it, and if not, even better. And you will have the link for the slides, and you can check it. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Jonathan, for your talk. We have a question. Let me know if you can see the question.
Yeah, I see it from Johan. Do you always leave LLM assistance on, or occasionally also disable it for a while? Well, to be honest, I'm not in a position of producing a lot of code that goes into production. But in my case, usually I use the assistant to help me on things that I don't know. I mean, not don't know, that I don't remember. So for instance, if I need to connect to a database, I never remember which are the arguments and which is it's boilerplate. So I usually use it for boilerplate, for code. When I create articles, I use AI, but I use it to produce the structure, even to fix my English errors. Sorry. But usually all the knowledge and all the basic information, I have to tell it constantly. So it's a process of several prompts fixing. And in some cases, I've even said, okay, whatever, I will do it myself. So sometimes, but not always, yes, Johan.
Another
What type
question?
of assistance do you prefer? Chat-based, using the info that AI gives to you as hints to follow, or CLI tools like Claude, where you give instructions and get artifacts? Well, I would say it's a mix of both, right? So in some cases, if you know exactly what you want to do, well, it's kind of like autocomplete on asteroids. It's easy to use the autocomplete of the IDE in order to finish writing the method name and even the arguments. It's a more elaborated autocompletion, but that's perfect for me in lots of cases. And in some, I use the chat when I want to create a method that I will continue working on. So I want the AI to produce, again, the boilerplate code, and from that, I will use the autocomplete feature to help me on doing what I really know.
All right. So thank you for any of you that are discussing on the chat. There is a good conversation on the chat. So there are more talk in Jet Champion Conference. So please join in the next talk. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Muchas gracias a todos.